Welcome back to the Gamecocks Football Captain's Log, brought to you by Morris Island Charters. As always, I am here with the captain of Morris Island Charters himself, Captain P.D. Inhabitant. Captain P.D., how are you doing? It's been a long offseason. It's good to see you.
It has been a long offseason. I'm doing well.
Good. So I said it's good to see you as though I hadn't seen you since last offseason, but that is a complete and utter lie. We actually just hung out not too long ago, and that's kind of what we're going to get into the season preview today before we start talking about the Old Dominion game. What reminded us that we needed to do a season preview was a very fun outing we had here in James Island, South Carolina. PD, what happened?
Well, the evening started with our college football draft, which we do every year, and we have libations and food, and then get sad for the next 5 months when we realize we picked terrible teams. Then we ended up that's just our ritual every August. Then we ended up at the Break, our local bar, and after we got in, the I say be a bouncer, security guard.
He was like a super professional one, though. He had like a body cam on and a gun.
Yeah, he looked like he was somebody's actually paying him to do something.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then he just walked up to us later on and asked us what we thought of Beamer. And I thought this was really weird. But I thought, I'll be honest, he's no better than Muschamp at this point. He's exactly the same at this point. I haven't seen anything to prove otherwise, and then that was led down an entire rabbit hole of, delusionalism.
Yes, it was a 7-hour conversation, I believe, and so we were like, makes more sense to do this for the show. So I guess with that being said, let's get into. I want your thoughts again. Security guard is not here. I want your thoughts for the people. What we're looking like this season. Let's start with the offseason. I guess the biggest change, in case you've blocked it out of your mind, last season was Spencer Rattler or bust. He was behind a wildly overmatched offensive line. Rattler is actually tearing it up for the Saints in preseason, so he's gone. But we've got LaNorris Sellers starting now. How do you feel about Sellers as the new starting quarterback?
So I really haven't seen enough of Sellers to know exactly what he is. Obviously he's very athletic. He can move in the pocket, escape the pocket. He can throw the ball accurately. I don't have enough knowledge or visual confirmation on him to say whether or not he's going to be particularly good. Just because playing behind that offensive line in the SEC is just going to, unless they're drastically improved, which I doubt, but we'll get to that. Sellers, he's got a lot of talent. He's got a year under his belt. He's learned the system. He knows what to do. But when he's got Alabama's, front five in his face, will he be able to sit in the pocket? Will he be able to make throws on the run? Will he be able to, escape or make reads in an appropriate fashion? I just don't know. We've only seen him play in the spring game and against Furman, and I think he got in against Vanderbilt.
Yeah, I think so.
We were up by 30 points. So
yeah,
the game was not on the line. We weren't playing for anything. It's not anything. There's no real measure of substance to compare him to. No, everybody's high on him. Beamer's high on him. Everybody loves him. I think he could be great. Whether or not we can protect him is going to be a question. And I don't think his feet are going to be able to save him the entire game. He's going to have to be able to sit in the pocket and make throws. And can we give him a pocket?
So let's go there before we go back to the rest of the skill positions. Let's just go to the offensive line, because that was terrible is not strong enough of a word. in my mind, they have to be better simply because how much worse could you get?
Well, I think we were like last, with the exception of Vanderbilt, maybe last year as far as offensive line play.
So
And
we can
then
get like
Alabama was
one
like right
spot
in front of
worse. Yeah. Finally, we're mentioning the same sentence as Bama.
Yeah.
So you would think they'd have to get better. And they
Well,
did bring back Sean Elliott. He's not coaching offensive line, but he is the run game coordinator and coaching tight ends. Does Elliott coming back make you feel any better? And do you think that we are going to be better on the offensive line? And for nothing else, we've got that 1 year under our belt together.
So I do think we will be better on offensive line. We actually did improve last year on offensive line, probably around game 7 or 8. We started to show some improvement. We figured out how to run the ball for a couple games, and maybe, but that could have been just Mario making plays. So the question is how they've got a little bit of experience, but we also brought in a lot of new guys. The transfer portal and all that. We played a lot of freshmen last year, trying to mix match and put move them around and see who could play where. But I say we're going to be better. I don't know if we'll be good. That is a huge question mark.
And I'm a little scared because we just talked about Sellers, and just with a first-year starting quarterback, I feel like that makes it even tougher on the O-line, because Rattler, he was incredible at making something out of nothing last year.
Yeah.
And I think if we'd had, like, if Sellers was back there last year full time, we would be holding a memorial service for him. So
if you've got, no consistent source of pass protection, you're not able to get into a rhythm. You're not able to go through your reads. You're not able to actually play the position. I think if the offensive line can't protect them, what'll happen, he's going to get happy feet, and he's just going to look to run every chance he gets, and will end up probably ruining him as a player.
Yes. Like, that's a big concern. A guy so young, you're trying to build his confidence and everything, and then he starts developing terrible habits because we can't protect him.
Yeah. And I can't say I blame him. He doesn't want to get his head ripped off every play.
I would like to live. Yeah. If I were him, I would want to live.
Yeah. So, it's going to depend on how much composure he has. Can he, stay settled in the pocket and not get outside of himself?
Yeah. And so let's talk about some of the weapons he has. You mentioned Mario Anderson. Super Mario has moved on. We do get Rocket Sanders from Arkansas. He was injured most of last season, but in 2022, he ran for 1,400 yards and 10 touchdowns. Also, Rocket, very cool nickname. How excited are you for Rocket?
So if he had not been injured last year, I'd be really excited. But it's hard to really know what a guy's going to do when they're coming back from an injury. It's just one of those things. And also, he is the guy right now, but as far as running. What happens if he gets hurt?
Yeah, because I think backing him up is Juju McDowell again, and then it's like, what are we doing?
Had some playing time last year. He did well, but I don't know, how far along he's come.
Yeah.
I don't know that we have anybody that's like an every down back, or somebody that we're going to be able to rely on consistently.
Yeah, which has kind of been the story here recently, unfortunately. I guess Marshawn before he left, but even he wasn't super impressive to where. Yeah, Kevin Harris, he was incredible. Yeah. But yeah, like last year was perfect example of what not to do when trying to get a running game started. And we turned to Mario way too late. So at least I do feel more confident heading into this season. And I also think, like, to the injury point, I don't know if we get him if he hadn't been injured at Arkansas last season. So this is kind of our place in the transfer portal where it's like, okay, we're going to get guys move on to bigger schools, or I think they're going to move on to bigger schools like Mario and Juice Wells. And then we kind of have to fill it in with guys who probably, like Spencer Rattler again, who's disappointing at Oklahoma. And so have to make do with that. I am infinitely more optimistic because, I mean, as much as I love Dak, you were asking a lot of him last year to start off the season behind that offensive line at a new position. That was crazy. And Mario clearly worked out well, but at least we've got a guy. We're starting with a guy who's played SEC football at a very high level. And so that is a fantastic starting point. We don't have as much good news, I feel like, in the wide receiver room.
No. After, Nick Harbor, it's wide open. Like, what do we've got some transfer guys in, we've got some freshmen, but we don't have anybody that's a proven commodity in the SEC. Obviously we lost Leggett, we lost
Juice Wells, who didn't play last year, really.
But the one game he did play in, he got a touchdown against Georgia.
Yeah, so he's old with Lane Kiffin.
Yeah, so will we have another Rattler and Leggett? Probably not. But if we can find us, another target other than Harbor, we've got to do something. We got to be able to find, somebody to give competition for Harbor. That way, the defense isn't just covering him with three guys the entire time.
Yeah, they say the kid Jared Brown from Coastal is supposed to be good, but again, like you're saying, SEC football.
Yeah, right. Yep. Good in the Sun Belt. So
of the two, of the offensive line and the wide receivers, which is a bigger concern for you about LaNorris?
So I am more. What's more important? Offensive line.
Yeah,
that has to be good. It has to be solid for anything to work. If you have a line, you can give them enough time. Somebody's going to find a way open. If you have a good enough line, you can put you or I behind them, and we can run for 3 yards a clip. But
that's the dream.
Yeah.
I'm going to sign with Kiki's Chicken and Waffles and NIL deal. I've already got it planned out.
I love that. That's a great plan. Yeah.
I got to make do quick because my career will last just the one carry, and then I will disintegrate. So,
yeah. So the wide receivers, obviously, we need guys that can get open. Some of that might work with tight ends like Josh Simons, which I don't know why we didn't play him more last year when he was obviously
fantastic. Yeah.
We all hated Trey Knox. I feel like we could, tackle him with just by blowing on him. But, I don't know what there's a lot of question marks with the things that this coaching staff has done in the past that I don't understand and I'll never understand. So I don't know what. Obviously,
it's very upsetting.
Why can't we get them on the field and play the good ones and not just have this pecking order that is in place?
Yeah, I think you're right. Like, I think it's going to come down to, I've heard mixed things about Harbor, but the guy is such a physical freak, and he did look good last year too. For a freshman,
he was a true freshman last year. So I mean, he's not going to be amazing.
No. So I do like him. I think that helps. I do think Josh Simon, again, I think he's going to factor into the passing game a lot. And like you're saying, loved him. We were constantly yelling for more Josh Simon. I just couldn't believe we had a tight end who could not get tackled at first eye contact. So that is concerning because I feel like as bad as we've been, you always feel good about the receiving room. But last season we did make it work. Like if you would have told me before the season we were all excited for Juice, and then he plays one game, I would have been like, okay, there's nothing there. But then Leggett comes along and finally puts it all together and is just incredible. So I do think I know for a fact it is much easier to find a receiver than it is to find an offensive line that can keep you alive.
For sure. And offensive line has been the bane of our existence since as long as I can remember.
It's been a while, yeah.
Yeah. I don't know we've never had a great offensive line. We've had decent offensive lines.
Yeah, if we could just get back to average.
No, yeah, just average. Just give us average, and
please.
We'll be fine. But we've had great receivers for forever.
Yeah. So, well, let's move to defense. Unless you have anything else to say about the offensive side of the ball.
Other than coaching, no. But we can get to that.
Yeah. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
For me is I want to see what the offensive line looks like, and I want to see what the play calling looks like.
Yes. Yeah.
And
we can get into that.
So let's defensive side of the ball. Let's start with the big guys again. Defensive line. Could this possibly be a strength for us this year? Got a lot of guys coming back. Tonka, Hemingway, TJ Sanders, Alex Hundley, Nick Barrett. Bring in the guy, Kyle Kennard from Georgia Tech, who had 6 sacks. Or am I just doing a thing where I'm looking at a unit compared to the rest of the units on defense, and I'm like, well, this unit looks good relative to the other units, so maybe it's a strength, when really it's all poop.
Based on what I saw last year, yeah, it took the defense a long time to figure things out. I blame that mostly on Clayton White, but our defensive line has not had enough size in a while. Now they're bigger. I think they're bigger and better now than they were last year, but I don't know if it's up to par with the rest. With enough guys in the other teams in the SEC now to really make much of a difference. The thing with the defensive line, can we, play our positions, keep holes closed, put guys in holes, keep, pressure on the quarterback or running back, just not be like punching bags like we've been for the last few years.
So you raise a great point about the size. It's like we are not recruiting for the SEC. Yeah. And you don't want to compare us to Georgia because Georgia gets
everything.
Yes. But I've pulled up the roster, and the heaviest defensive tackle we have is 315 pounds.
Yeah.
Tonka, 288, Sanders, 290, Huntley, 303, Barrett, 309. That feels at least 15, 20 pounds lighter, I feel like, than I would want an SEC interior defensive lineman. Am I crazy?
No. Like interior defensive lineman, you want guys pushing like 350.
Because I'm thinking of like Jordan Davis for Georgia. Like that dude was huge.
Yeah, they are the entire. They can take up 3 guys. It's just we're not getting the size that we were getting under like Spurrier. If we're not going to be able to control the line of scrimmage on defense, it's going to cause a lot of problems.
Yeah, we're kind of cooked because that was the unit I was most excited about. And then we moved to linebacker. And we have like Debo Williams comes back, first team all SEC. Bam Martin Scott is back. We've added depth, which I hope will help because it felt like we would get run down. And
right. Last year you would notice so that they were starting to get tired like in the fourth quarter and just not able to keep up. But it was I mean, we've got a lot of depth. We've got a lot of guys that have already played, have experience. Um, but are they elite enough to play in the SEC and be better than mediocre? Debo is, but
Yeah.
what do we got around him?
Yeah, it just can't be him.
Yeah.
Especially when, like we just said, the defensive line isn't. They're gonna be in for it as far as holding the line of scrimmage. So you would think they're gonna get a lot of chances to tackle back there. And what I found from watching Gamecock football is when we don't tackle well, we seem to let the other team score. Is that correct? Is that what you've noticed?
Seem to do that a lot.
Yeah.
And it doesn't really help the offense out a lot either when they're constantly playing from behind.
Yeah.
I don't know. We were playing a lot of guys, a lot of DBs that were freshmen last year. They've got a year under their belt. A lot of them looked very confused last year. How much of that is inexperience? How much of that is poor coaching? Clayton?
It was truly jarring. Like the secondary, like you said, we bring back most of those guys. DQ Smith, Nick Eamon-Wari, Kilgore, Fortune, Judge Collier, and Torian Gray, by all accounts, is an elite defensive backs coach. And you know all these things, and then you watch the way that we played last year. We were at the Florida game when we did that, and you just see guys just clueless.
Yeah, I was in that end zone. I was like, before Florida even snapped the ball, I was like, oh, they're getting a touchdown right here because these guys have no idea what's going on.
And that was just the case in so many games, and you're like, okay, surely someone's going to make an adjustment at some point.
Ooh, that would be asking too much, wouldn't it?
We made Graham Mertz look like a superstar. Graham Mertz.
Yeah.
I think that was the last game Florida won all season.
That sounds right.
And so overall defensively, it sounds like the story for you, both sides of the ball, is coaching.
Yes. Especially on defense. It's very clear that Clayton does not like to make any kind of change at all or adjust his in-game plays or scheme because we didn't change we switched from the 4-2-5 to the 3-3-5 against A&M. What was that, game 8, I think?
Yeah.
And we finally started making stops and stuff, and just was like, there's so much less. There was less confusion. The guys, when they knew what they were doing, we also were able to at least slow down other teams rushing. We weren't getting a lot of tackles for a loss or anything like that, but we had guys up there making contact at the line of scrimmage and putting the players on the field. Let them do what they do best. We don't have a lot of size, which is on up front, so that's why the 3-3 worked for us. But we had good linebacker play. We had guys that can get to the ball. But I'm very confused why Clayton White is still here.
Yeah, I feel like that is at a certain point, you got to be able to pull the trigger and make a move. And I can appreciate that Shane is loyal, but we just saw this with Marcus Satterfield.
Yeah.
And, back to back, when you're a guy who's brought in and your thing is network, I'm going to bring in the best coordinators to support me, especially since this is my first head coaching job, never been a coordinator even, but I got the Beamer last name. I've worked all these great places. I'm going to bring in the best coordinators. And now it looks like you are not coming close to doing that. And you're holding on to them past the point of everyone realizing that you have brought in not the best coordinators.
Yeah.
I start to get a little antsy.
I can't believe. I don't know why we have this problem with coaches that are unwilling to make any kind of adjustments, that just get stuck in like, this is how they have to do it, this is how they're going to do it, no matter what anyone says. And that's exactly what Clayton White has done, and has shown me no evidence to the contrary that he is willing to grow and evolve and put players in a position where they should be. That's not necessarily the kind of defense you might want to run, but it's might be the one that you have to run.
Yeah. You got to work with the players you have. And I think if the defense hadn't been as bad to where we're focused on Clayton so much, I think that we would also have very similar things to say about Dowell Loggins on offense, because it was the same story. It just wasn't quite as glaring. And I feel like you could probably give him a little bit of a break with all of the offensive line injuries, I guess, because there were a lot of injuries.
Yeah. It's hard to make an accurate assessment on Loggins at the moment. With everything that's been going, like all of the offensive line problems, the wide receiver problems, the running back problems. It's hard to have a clear-cut, game plan. Situation.
So I guess also I will say we have a new-ish kicker, Alex Herrera, who I think was doing kickoff some last year, and he would come in some. But I know Michael Jeter went to Notre Dame, I believe. Kai Kroger still punting, had a very rough year last year. So I hope he returns to Heisman form. Yeah.
Well, we have a new special teams coach this year, so who knows what it'll be like. The reason why we didn't do as well last year is because our special teams was not as good as it was the previous year, because we overachieved the year before because we were so good on special teams. We also won the turnover battle a lot the year before and did not win it last year. So that's going to indicate a lot as far as what your record's going to be.
Absolutely. So it is time. Saturday, 4:15 on the SEC Network. We are playing Old Dominion. We are favored by 21 points. We have a very terrible schedule the rest of the way after that. What do you need to see Saturday to have some kind of hope moving forward? Even if it doesn't, like, this could be a year where we improve and we don't see it in the record because of everyone's just so good that we're playing. But what would you need to see specifically week 1 to make you think, okay, maybe the coaches have figured out that I hate them?
Basically showing consistency. These guys, especially last year, there was little to no consistency as far as like being able to move the ball or make stops on defense, showing that they were not confused. These players knew what their assignments were and what they were supposed to be doing. Last year, we just did not seem to have, on both sides of the ball, there was no aptitude for what they needed to be doing, where they should be, and that falls on the coaching, number one. So can we be consistent? Can we have players in the right spot, doing the right things, and not being confused all the time? We also need to get the playmakers on the field. What I am tired of hearing is, we got to figure out a way to get them on the field. Well, get them on the fucking field.
Whose fault?
It is your job to put them on the field. Put the best player on the field and let him play.
That is the thing that drives me crazy.
There's so many different ways to get players on the field, and like we said this with I don't know how many times with Dak, with Jaheim Bell, just all these guys that seem to make magic happen, and we're not letting them do that. So that is so confusing to me, and just makes me want to just go into a rage, but I won't right now.
Thank you for your restraint.
Yeah. Also, the coaching composure. There's been a lot of times where Beamer I've seen seems like he's playing or coaching scared. I don't think this will be a problem this weekend because it's Old Dominion. But once we start getting into SEC play, is he able to make right decisions and not just start fumbling and throwing in the playing like he doesn't know what he's doing, or coaching like he doesn't know what he's doing? That it's hard for him to keep his composure and make the right calls, in my opinion.
Yeah, that has been like one of my bigger pet peeves too, is those press conferences where he's just like, I don't know, we got to get him on the field, and I don't know what happened. Like, okay, stop talking like that. Just put the guy in the game. And then a lot of times I get the feeling that he's doing things to let everyone who's watching know that he cares and he is also upset. And I feel like a lot of his hysterics are like, I too am angry and I'm trying to coach very hard and it's not working out. When I don't, like, it's great that you care as much as I do, but I need you to be more focused on, coaching. And I'll be mad enough for the both of us.
Yeah. Yeah. What would be awesome is if you could make in-game adjustments. At all. That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
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 I haven't seen that happen at all.
No, not yet. So, I don't know. Well, we got a long season ahead.
Yep.
So we can't get too sad yet. But it is time to make the pick. As you mentioned, it is Old Dominion at Williams-Brice, 21-point favorite. We have smooth sailing. Should we put on our life vest, or is it a mayday? Someone please save us.
I think it is going to be smooth sailing, just based on our opponent, who it is. But whether or not I don't think we're going to get 21 points. Week 1, it's going to be sloppy. Just what I expect every year is going to be a sloppy week 1. So the Dolphins are putting their entertainment purposes on the Old Dominion this week.
Fantastic news, because at least we still get the win. And the Dolphins will probably be happy as well. And I do like Dolphins. So, man, enjoy it this week, everybody, because spoiler alert, these will get darker and darker as the season goes on, I'm afraid.
So, there's a storm brewing.
Yeah, big one. So, all right then. Well, we did it. We will see what happens on Saturday. If you are in the Low Country and you need a very beautiful boat tour with a very beautiful boat captain, all that information is going to be in the show notes, so scroll down. And I don't know, that does it for me. Anything from you, P.D?
I think I'm all set. We'll see you next week.
All right. Well, we will see you next week.